सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om everyone. In our last session we had seen about the concept of Maya. The teacher was now elaborating this concept because a student asked a question, teacher, you told me that Sakshi is Sat Swarupa. It is of the nature of existence. And there cannot be many existences. I don't know if that's a word, but there cannot be many existences. That is why the student has this question, what is all this that we are seeing then? What is that I am seeing with my eyes, my mind and everything? What is the nature of the world? That is when teacher introduced the concept of Maya. So we'll chant the verse and then look at few more things about it. Shaktidvayam hi mayayaha vikshepavrutirupakam vikshepa shaktirlingadi brahmandantam jagat srujet. So Vidyaranya Swamiji said, Maya has two powers. Shaktidvayam hi mayayaha. What are they? Vikshepa Shakti, power of projecting, and Avarana Shakti, power of veiling something. And only when veiling is there, something can get projected. Now he is going to explain what is Avarana Shakti later. First he has taken Vikshepa Shakti, the power of projection, to point out what it is. The second line is the most important concept here. Vikshepa Shakti. It projects the creation, but where does creation start from? It starts right from here. Vikshepa Shaktir Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srujet. So previously, before studying Vedanta or Drigdrishya Viveka, whenever we hear the word world or creation, the normal thought process is to see creation as something, the mountains and rivers and everything. But gradually, it should come closer and closer. It should come to our own surroundings and then to this body. And not only stop here, but also go to mind. Ahankara, mind, and the buddhi, what we discussed, all of that falls under creation. Now this is Vikshepa Shakti, because of which it has come into being first. Okay, it is projected in consciousness. Another word of Vikshepa that we are familiar with is turbulence, agitation in the mind. That also is called as Vikshepa. That is the secondary meaning of the word Vikshepa. And what Vedanta will do is take away the second Vikshepa, meaning the agitations which are there in the mind, all of that should quieten down once we have understood ourselves as pure consciousness. But only with that understanding, it will not fully quieten down. A lot of other sadhanas also have to be done to come to a stage where we can fully own up our nature as consciousness. Now, what about this other Vikshepa that we are seeing, the world and ahankara and everything. So Vedanta says we need not destroy it. All that we will do is we will tell or reveal through Upanishads that it is an appearance. Appearance can continue, but knowledge should override appearance or experience of things. Examples, several of them we have seen. Blueness of sky is an appearance, and we experience it. But once knowledge takes place, we should be able to have that knowledge override experience. So here also, perception of the world, perception of ahankara will continue, but two stages. Ahankara first has to become sattvic, and then it has to be understood as an appearance. Okay, both will go together. Shuvikshepa Shaktir Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srujet. So this is what we had seen. I just summarized it right now. That first we start with a world, which is far distant from us. We think it is cosmos and everything, which is falls under the world category. But it has to gradually come closer and closer until it comes to this body and also ahankara. So this line that I had drawn was just to distinguish between the role of avarana and role of vikshepa. What did Vidyaranya Swamiji says? Vikshepa Shakti Lingadi Brahmandantam. So Lingadi would start from this circle here, right, which is Linga Sharira, and everything else until Brahmandas, different worlds. And avarana was on the left side of the line only to show that it hides the difference between Sakshi and everything else. Now, what we mean by that, it will again come. I won't elaborate it right now. What do we mean by hiding? 4 shlokas, Vidyaranya Swamiji is going to describe what is Avarana Shakti. So, we have not touched the Avarana part yet. We are only looking at Vikshepa part. So, there was a question last time, should there be another line on the left side of Avarana? Because here it looks as though Avarana belongs to Sakshi. So, that is not true. Sometimes one representation leads to another idea. So you draw another line if you want. Avarana also you draw another line. But main point is both Avarana and Vikshepa are part of Maya, or Maya itself is called as Avarana and Vikshepa. It is not, Avarana doesn't belong to Sakshi and Vikshepa belongs to other side. Okay, so I think that portion is clear here. What is this Maya Shakti? 2 powers. It hides and it projects. And then we saw a couple of other examples also. Wherever this Lakshana, this nature fits, there the word Maya is used. Like magician hides things and projects, misguides us to see something else. That is why we call him a Mayavi. And several other things also, money, wealth, sometimes it shifts our priorities, it hides what, should be our priorities, and then it projects something else. So that is why it is also called as Maya sometimes. Goswami ji in Tulsi Ramayana, when Lakshman ji asks him, Bhagwan, what is this Maya? He gives this answer. Main aru mor torate Maya. I and mine, this is mine. And you are, different from me, and that is yours. So seeing this difference between me and others, he says that is the result of Maya. And another definition he gives, whatever is seen, whatever becomes drishya, that is Maya. So, it is nice to just look at a transactional, meaning of Maya without getting into the technical details yet. But that is also important, which is why we will go to the next one. Some important points about Maya. This has been, taken from different texts. but I didn't take all the things that are said in all the text. Okay, just 3 or 4 I have taken, which gives a very precise understanding of what is this Maya. This word we keep hearing, but what exactly it is. First aspect of Maya is it is Brahmashraya. It is not another independent entity which is existing on its own. What sometimes we hear as creative power of the Lord. Whenever we hear the word Maya creates creation, or Maya has brought about all these things, then we should add this, not on its own, but with Brahman as substratum. Sometimes we hear the word or sentence, Brahman is the cause of this creation. So then we should add not by itself along with Maya Shakti. Because Brahman by itself is Nirvikara. There cannot be any modification, there cannot be any change that comes in Brahman. So if it has to be the cause of creation, it is only with this Maya power. Okay, so that is the first one. It is not independent, it is dependent on Brahman. Second is, this Maya also is called as Mula Vidya, primordial ignorance. Now that primordial word also is, archaic. What we should understand is, it is unlike ignorance of things in this world, what ignorance that we are generally familiar with. Right? Sometimes we say, I'm ignorant of Chinese, for example. So that is not similar to being ignorant of Brahman. Okay, so being ignorant of one language doesn't give rise to creation and other things, But this is called Mula Vidya, being ignorant of which we have ended up, in this jivatva, in this limited sense of individuality. And life after life, it can keep going on if this avidya is not taken out. So Maya and avidya, they are generally, avidya means ignorance. Both are sometimes used synonymously. Sarvam chaitad vidyaya trigunaya ashesham maya kalpitam. Manisha Panchakam, Shankaracharya ji says, he uses Maya and avidya as the same. But we should understand it is not avidya like worldly avidya. Just like I don't know a language, I don't know a skill. So it is not that kind of avidya. But another important point here is this avidya also becomes drushya, means it becomes known to us. That is why it is not the same degree of reality as consciousness. Okay, this is the main point. There was also another question which we will take later. So basically, before we said there is Sakshi and there is world. And now we are saying there is Sakshi and there is Maya. What have we done? We have just replaced one word for the another. Right? So is it that way? So it is said no. I mean, the question was, there is still duality, right? If you say there is Sakshi and there is Maya, so you have just replaced one word for the another, but there is duality there. Vedanta says that this ignorance, Maya, also becomes known to us. Just like, we say, right, we are ignorant of this language, we are ignorant of, this object. So that ignorance also becomes known. That is why we say whatever is known is a different degree of reality. More of that discussion we will do somewhere else. Okay, so I'll hold myself back from going there right now. Another important point about Maya is it is beginningless but has an end. Beginningless meaning anadi. And has an end means Santa, not Santa. Huh? It looks as though there this diacritical marks. Anadi and Santa. Sa Anta is called as Santa. Since when have I been thinking about myself as this Jiva? since when has this creation been around? So Vedanta, the way Maya is answering this question is that it is beginningless. Since when we are ignorant, we cannot find a date. In fact, ignorance of anything is beginningless alone. Like if I say, I'm ignorant of Chinese language. So the question would be, what was I before I was ignorant? Was I knowing that language and then I became ignorant? Or was I ignorant even before being ignorant? Both don't make sense. So this primordial ignorance also is anadi. But because it is anadi doesn't mean that it will keep continuing. When knowledge comes, that ignorance comes to an end. Okay, that is why it is called as anadi, but it is santa. Now, another very, very important aspect of Maya is it is anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means inexplicable. Sometimes people feel that we are escaping from answering questions by saying in anirvachaniya. We also thought the same way. First time when you hear, you realize that these are just terms to divert our attention so that the main question gets forgotten. But we should understand what is anirvachaniya meaning in this context. Anirvachaniya means it is one thing, but it is appearing as something else. Why it is appearing, how it is appearing, that we cannot explain. So, pure consciousness, right, which is of the nature of Sat. Sat is something which never gets negated. Abadhyatvam satyatvam. Now, if you take Maya and apply the same definition, so then it contradicts, right? Because we said Maya has Santa. Ignorance, whenever knowledge comes, it ends. So it cannot be called as Sat. Just like consciousness is called as Sat, Maya also cannot be called as Sat because it comes to an end. What is the other extreme? Other extreme is Asat. Something which is completely non-existent, that is called as Asat. Example given is pairs of a horn of a rabbit. So rabbit doesn't have horn, so it is completely Asat. You can't even see anything. So can we call Maya as that completely Asat? We say we might call it like that, but it is not our experience, right? We see with our eyes, everything is there. I see myself as this limited individual. So Maya cannot be called as completely Asat also. So can we call it as combination of both Sat and Asat together? We say, how can two contradictory things come together? Right? Like light and darkness, both of it together can never appear. Either one should be there or another should be there. Either light should be there or darkness should be there. So consciousness and Maya, how are they coming together? So Maya cannot be called as Sat. It cannot be called as Asat. Neither can it be called as Sat Asat together. That is what makes it anirvachaniya, inexplicable. But we should remember one important point before getting into discussions about Maya. Purpose of Vedanta is not to establish that there is Maya. That one sentence what our Swamiji had said, right? We should always remember when it comes to Maya. He had said, Maya is not our answer to creation. Maya is our question about creation. Means whatever we are describing about Maya is not to establish that there is Maya. Maya is equally unreal as everything else. But because we are seeing things, we need an explanation. And this explanation we are not giving out of our own fancy, right? This word Maya comes in Upanishad. Now with that as the base, all logic is given. What is this Maya? It is Brahmashraya, it is Mula Vidya, it is Anadi and Santa, it is Anirvachaniya. All of that is given because Upanishads talk about Maya, and it talks about this power of consciousness of Brahman with which this entire creation is created. Projected. We should not use the word created also. It will be more precise in our thinking. Okay, Anirvachaniya. That is this word. And last one is, it is Karyanumeya. Means it is inferred from its effects. If you try to directly point out at ignorance from its own standpoint, we will always end up in loops. Ignorance never can be a matter of clear inquiry. First of all, this intellect with which we are inquiring is a part of ignorance only. So we should be very careful not to get caught up in too many logical things. If it brings more clarity about how I am not Maya, how I am not Ahankara, then you do it. But not only to prove Maya or disprove Maya. We'll thoroughly get caught up there. Vidyaranya Swamiji says in Panchadashi, 2 questions you ask about creation, you will have to say Ajnanam Sharanam Tava. Ajnanam Sharanam Tava means, oh Maya, oh ignorance, we bow down to you. Because you cannot conclusively determine things of this creation which has come out of ignorance. So Karyanumeya means we see the effects, that is why we have to predict the cause. Means we see 3 gunas. What is the karya of Maya? Karya means effect of Maya. This is compromised way of saying Maya itself is the 3 gunas, okay? But still, if you want to simplify and say 3 gunas we see, right? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. In ourselves we see. Sometimes we are calm, sometimes we are agitated, sometimes we are dull. All of that belongs to Maya. This creation that we see has come out because of tamasic aspect of Maya. So that also we see. That is why it is said Maya is Karyanumeya. It is inferred from its effects. Okay, so those were some key points taken from like different texts like Vivek Chudamani, Panchadashi. Lot of elaboration is there on each one of these topics. But if I take everything in one text, then it might be an overdose, and also other text we will again have to repeat those things. So in this Thanksgiving camp, Fundamentals of Vedanta, again we will see this topic, but from a different standpoint. Okay, having had this as our background, we will see some more practical aspects of Maya. Having explained the nature of Maya, Vidyaranya Swamiji now goes into what is the nature of creation according to Advaita Vedanta. This is a very, very important and a beautiful verse whenever we think about creation, right? What is the fundamental understanding? That is conveyed in this verse. So we'll chant it. Srushtirnama Brahma Rupe, Srushtirnama Brahma Rupe, Satchidananda Vastuni, Satchidananda Vastuni, Abdhau Phenadivat Sarva, Abdhau Phenadivat Sarva, Nama Rupa Prasarana, Nama Rupa Prasarana, Srushtirnama Brahma Rupe, Satchidananda Vastuni, Abdhau Phenadivat Sarva, Nama Rupa Prasarana. Today we'll just see the literal meaning of this, and next class we will dwell a little bit more on this. Srushtir Nama. This creation is nothing but, the name of this creation is Brahma Rupa. Srushtir Nama Brahma Rupe. Satchidananda Vastuni. Brahma Rupa means it is infinite. Infinite here is not an adjective. If you use the word big, right, as an adjective, it ends up making that thing finite. Like if you say a big tree, no matter how big it is, it becomes finite. So creation, if you use the word big, it is not to indicate it as an adjective of something else. So Brahma, when we use, it is infinite, more used as a noun, not as an adjective. Our Swamiji used to say the big, the big. Okay, you don't say big as adjective of something, you say bigness itself, infinite, that is nature of this creation. But where is it appearing? It is appearing in Satchidananda. In Sat Swarupa, Sat means which is of the nature of existence. Having determined the nature of a thing, then it never changes from that. That is called as Sat. Yad Vishaya Buddhihi na vyabhisharati tad Sat. Now this word Satchit Ananda comes in Taittiriya Upanishad. So our understanding of Satchit Ananda should be from there only. Okay, not another understanding whether they are three different things. So that discussion is taken up there. Some other time we can see that. It is the same thing. Sat alone is called as Chit. This existence alone is of the nature of consciousness. Not consciousness of something, but consciousness itself. Not reflected consciousness, but the original. That is called as Chit. Nyapti Swarupa. Not knowledge of something, but knowledge itself. That is called as Chit. And Ananda means it is not limited, it is not finite by, it is not limited by anything. That is called as Ananda. Ananda means Ananta. Not Ananda of something, huh? That is also something we should distinguish. Not Ananda of something, but happiness itself. Not happiness of something, but happiness itself. That is the nature of consciousness. In that consciousness, which is Sakshi, in this consciousness, creation appears. How? Example he gives, Abdhau Phenadivat Sarva Nama Rupa Prasarana. In that water alone, so many things appear. The foam appears, bubbles appear, the waves appear, but they are not something different from that water. Water alone is appearing as these different things which are Nama Rupa. Names are different, right? Once a thing in certain name and form is called as bubble, something is called as wave, something is called as foam. All of that is nothing but the same substratum, which is water. Nama Rupa Prasarana. Everything is name and form, but if you inquire into substratum, it all comes back to consciousness. Now this we will see more in detail. This was just a literal translation. The important points here are, what is the substratum of creation? Satchidananda, that name should become clear. What does it refer to? Okay, so we will pause here and there are some questions that we will take. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So a lot of questions last time were from the Maya topic, and a couple of them I've already addressed, that Avarana is not part of Sakshi. It is Maya alone. You can draw that line even on the side, left side of Avarana. This question, which is coming up now, also I mentioned in the lecture. But now we seem to have replaced Sakshi and world with Sakshi and Maya. There is still duality, because we said this topic of Maya was brought because student asked the question, there is Sakshi and world, right? Are they two or are they one? So now what have we done? So this question says we have just replaced the word world with the word Maya. There is still duality. The simple way to understand this is, whatever becomes drushya, whatever becomes known is different from Sakshi, and it is mithya, different degree of reality. The most precise way of coming to this understanding is by analyzing dream state. How is drushya mithya? So in Mandukya Karika's second chapter, Gaudapadacharya ji systematically establishes that dream is mithya. He gives several examples, several reasons. He says, we sleep in one place, but we might have reached some other place. But when we wake up in the same spot. We don't reach, wherever we have gone. That would have been nice, right? You just dream of anything, wake up there, you wake up in that same place. So he says that is one reason he gives. And he says there is no sufficient space in our mind to see these dreams. We see mountains, we see rivers, everything is seen in this mind. So first he establishes dream is mithya. Now we might wonder, such a simple thing, why do we have to establish that? I can only tell you that dream is mithya. But he says no. Once you have established something, then you cannot go back on it. Now what have we established there? Dream is mithya, but he says the vyapti that you should gather from there is, whatever is drushya, that is mithya. Means dream, everything is drushya, right? It is seen, it becomes an object of experience, and that we call as dream. So we can extrapolate that same vyapti, that wherever there is drushyatva, there is mithyatva. Okay, this was a condensed version of the second chapter of Mandukya. The main point Gaudapadacharya ji tells there is, wherever there is drushyatva, there is mithyatva. It is not of the same degree of reality, just like in dream. So in waking world, or what is the main point here? Drushyatva is of this world, Maya, whatever you want to call it. Ignorance also becomes an object of knowledge. And what is the substratum? Substratum is Sakshi. So that is real, and whatever is seen is an appearance. Now there are a lot of questions that come up, which come in our mind only. How can you extrapolate like that? There are so many, convictions that we have made for ourselves about what is real and what is not real. All of that is raised and everything is answered. So, but in this context, we won't go there. But whenever we have this question, is Maya and Sakshi again duality? We should ask the question, is it drushya or not? Is it becoming an object of my experience or not? Okay, that is how we should ask. If Brahman is actionless, how can we understand the need and purpose of projection, which is also an action? So this point we saw today. When we say Brahman is projecting, that projection does not belong to Brahman. Projection belongs to Maya. Vikshepa Shakti belongs to Maya. So that, we should be clear. In Brahman, there is no modification taking place. And neither it has any kind of desire by itself. Ichha Shakti comes in with Maya Upadhi. Ichha Shakti is not inherent to Brahman. The examples what we had seen, if I am seeing snake on that rope, right? On that rope, if there is a snake which is appearing to me, and I keep asking that rope, why are you projecting that snake? It is just like asking Brahman, why are you projecting creation? So Brahman says, which creation? So from the standpoint of consciousness, there is no projection. It is from our standpoint, because we are experiencing this world, that is why we have to, see it as substratum and projection. And this is something which all Vedanta texts will do, all our acharyas have done. We cannot deny what we are experiencing, right? If directly we are said that there is no snake, then we won't, agree, or we will not have that conviction. So first step, what is pointed out is, there is a snake, there is a substratum which is there in which that snake is appearing. So first step, teacher accepts, that there is something there. But what is the final understanding? That there is only rope, there is no snake. So this way here also, if the student is insistent, right, that there is creation, then Vedanta has given a systematic way of going from where we are to where Vedanta wants us to go. All we have to do is do our sadhana, purify the mind. This inquiry, you will realize, can be done only when mind is not having too much pressure of raga dvesha. If there is strong likes and dislikes, preferences, we cannot touch creation. First, what should go is Shobhana Buddhi. Shobhana Buddhi means strong preferences. Then only can we come to Satta of creation. Shobhana Adhyasa and Satta Adhyasa. Satta means reality given to an object that can be questioned only when we don't have strong preference towards that object. If that is there, mind will say, you might talk about your things, I will show you what I want to do. And then we start feeling Vedanta is impractical. It's only theory. What Vedanta requires is this kind of mind which has this ability to keep things where they are, not get too much carried away, and do this inquiry about where is this thing appearing? What is the substratum in which this thing is appearing? Okay, so I hope that gives a perspective to this question. If Sakshi alone is and Maya is its Shakti, is it that Maya creates ignorance in Sakshi and then all projection, including Buddhi, happens, including Buddhi's projection happens? So first point here is, what is the question? Does Maya create ignorance in Sakshi? I hope that point should have been clear from today's discussion. Maya does not create ignorance. Maya itself is ignorance. They are not two different things. Right? Maya itself is called as ignorance, and it does not create ignorance in Sakshi. Right? Sakshi is of the nature of knowledge. It cannot get polluted by Maya or any other kind of impurity. But what has it done? It has just hidden this fact for us, that I am Brahman, that gets veiled, because of which everything else starts happening. That is the role of ignorance. The three words which we use in Vedanta, right, they are very helpful in this context. We say avidya, kama, and karma. Avidya means what? Same Maya. Okay, Mula Vidya, what we call, Mula Avidya becomes Mula Vidya. Okay, so this is ignorance. That has created desires now. I have forgotten myself to be, or I don't know myself to be as Ananda Swarupa, and I have taken myself to be as Ahankara, somebody else. And with this, I'm trying to seek completeness now. And because I have desires, to fulfill that, 14 worlds have to be created. Karma. I do actions, and because of those actions, karma phala has to come now. Enjoyment has to come. Not always enjoyment. Different experiences have to come back. That is why these worlds, 14 worlds, get created. That is the role of Maya. It does not create ignorance in Sakshi. Okay. Okay, this is the last question we'll take. How to compromise, or how to reconcile, probably, the two apparently conflicting statements that I made in last class. Okay. First statement was, the wall between Ahankara and Sakshi is ignorance. And second statement is, Ahankara is a projection by Maya Shakti, which implies Ahankara is not real. The real and unreal have to be different. What is the first statement? Wall between Ahankara and Sakshi is ignorance. Yes. Second statement is, Ahankara is projection by Maya Shakti, which means Ahankara is not real. True. It might look contradictory. What we should understand is that wall is not a literal wall. That Ahankara, this Maya or ignorance, is not another physical entity which is there between consciousness and Ahankara. Ignorance itself is called as Maya, and that itself is the barrier. So this ignorance projects buddhi, and because of that, everything else gets projected. This world outside also is projection of that. But they are not, equally of the same degree of reality. Now you take the example of snake and rope again. That will clarify this point. What is the wall between that snake and the rope? Right? It's not a physical wall. So that wall is of ignorance only. But now here also you see the second part of that line, second part of that question. Ahankara is a projection by Maya, which implies Ahankara is not real. Snake is projection of that rope, which implies it is not real. Real and unreal have to be different. True, they are also different, right? Just like the snake is different from the substratum, which is the rope. But the main point here is real and unreal can coexist. Because they are different degrees of reality, they can coexist. That snake which is there can very well appear on that rope. So real and unreal can coexist. There is no conflict there. In the same way, Ahankara, Maya, whatever you want to call it, and which is unreal, and Sakshi, which is our true nature, that can coexist. Okay, so there is conflict will come only when we think both to be of the same degree of reality. Okay, and we think Maya to be as something physical, something tangible, that entity, then we might get a little confused. But we should go back to those examples. But most importantly, these pointers should come back in meditation. Once we have got thoroughness, right, in this analysis of what is real, what is unreal, when we sit down for meditation, when a thought comes, conviction should tell me that this thought is part of creation. It doesn't belong to me. With this conviction, we'll be able to let go of thoughts and not get bothered by them too much. Right? Having done sadhana, having done taken care of our vyavahara, even after that, while sitting down for meditation, and when we are up from that seat of meditation also, whenever thoughts come, disturbing, agitating thoughts, whatever they might be, this conviction should be there that it is just an appearance in me. Okay, so that is, we should connect it back to the main topic. Our point is not to establish Maya, right? Our point is to get abidance in Brahman. Okay, so we'll pause here. There are some other questions which I have noted down. Okay. Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Hari Om. Hari Om everyone.